Hey guys, welcome to my next tutorial, and this is going to be all focusing about respawning. And I get asked this over and over and over again, and there's going to be one set way that we're going to do respawning for our survival game, but there's many ways that you could possibly do it. If you've got a persistent loading saving game situation, you can use that. So you save your game and you can load back everything that was previously within the scene. But if you want it to be something more persistent, just based around how you're playing at the current moment, you can obviously say your health reaches 0. Then you can just, when it reaches 0, you can load up a new scene, and then from that new scene, which could be a menu saying, do you want to restart the game, you could load up this scene again from the beginning. Say you want, if for instance you wanted to start afresh every single time. Now, that's not always very good, because if we start afresh every single time, we'll lose everything we've collected, everything we've built, everything we've done within the game. But the way I'm going to show you to do it is like I've done with another tutorial which was about teleporting. It's going to be a similar sort of way. So if our health reaches 0, we're going to teleport to somewhere else. So say we have a campfire, which is going to act as our, every time you build a campfire, it's going to act as a spawn point if you die, and you'll spawn back there. Or in Minecraft you've got a bed, which is the same sort of thing. And what we're going to do is we're going to spawn at that position, and we need to make sure that we reset all values that we want to reset. So think about it, if we go on our first person controller and we've got our player GUI, which is all these things in the top corner. Now obviously when we die, we don't want to keep everything as it was, because everything would be down at the bottom and you'd be dead, and you're just a continuous loop of dying. So we need to set everything back to its normal amount. And also within your infantry system, you need to be able to show, unless you don't want to, you want to set everything back to its default values. So this is going to be a few things to just keep in mind, but it's going to be the sort of basis to getting around doing this. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a quick game object, and that's just going to act as our, let's say that this is the campfire for now, and we've crafted that, because you know how to craft stuff, and you could give it a tag or a name. So that right there is going to be our campfire. I'll rename it for the sake of this tutorial. Right, so that when we die, what do we need to do now? We need to go back on the first person controller and open up the player GUI script. Now, once you've opened up the player GUI script, we want to scroll on down to something within the update function. It said that if health display is less than or equal to 0, so if health is equal to 0, if we're going to die, I'm going to rename this function and call it respawn. Doesn't really matter. You can keep it as character death or respawn. It's up to you. Then what we're going to do is, if it reaches 0, we're going to ask it to call the new function. So if we go all the way to the bottom of the script, we'll have the old function which was called character death, which is here. So I'm going to rename that to respawn, and make sure you have 2 brackets after it. Now before, what it did was loaded up a new level. We don't want it to load up a new level. We want to do something sort of different. We want to spawn at a position while still playing the game, so we never have to exit the game. So what we're going to actually want to do is initially say this dot game object dot transform dot position equals, and then we'll say destination dot position with a semicolon. Now if we save that and go all the way back to the top, we need to create a new variable. So what we'll do under here is we'll add a new variable and call this destination, and have that as type transform with a capital. So that's going to be where we actually decide to transform to or respawn in that position. So this .gameObject.transform.position is talking about the game object that has this script on, so it's going to be the first person controller. We're going to transform its position or move its position to the position of the destination, so that which is going to be our campfire. So we'll test that in a minute. So remember I said that we need to make sure that we reset all the values. So all these player GUI values, we need to set them back to the normal amounts. So what we're going to do is we're going to say health bar display is equal to 1, because 1s are 100%. You could have a variable called maximum display, but for the sake of this, we'll just keep it as this is now. Then we'll say, just for understanding's sake, and then hunger bar display is equal to 1. Thirst bar display is equal to 1. And stamina bar display is equal to 1. So that's going to reset all our player GUI values. So when we respawn, it's going to set everything back to 1. So we're going to have full bars again. Now, there's one thing that you want to do is everything within the inventory needs to be changed as well. So what we need to do is on our first person controller, we can collapse player GUI again. It'll add a little thing so we can drag in our destination slot. We can open up our inventory now, and we'll open up that in MonoDevelop. Now, what we want to do within our player GUI script first off is we're going to write a variable in here. And if we write, instead of writing a variable up at the top, that makes it public to the whole script. We just want it specific to this function. We don't need to call it again. So we can say variable inventory script equals get component, open brackets, capitals, inventory with a semicolon. And that just means we're setting a variable called inventory script and making it equal to the game object we're trying to find, and we're trying to find this script which is called inventory with a capital I. And then what we'll do is we'll say inventory script dot reset and then 2 brackets and a semicolon. And what's that going to do? That's going to call a function within the inventory script. So we need to actually create this function in the inventory script. So if we go to the bottom and scroll all the way down this script, after the functions talking about heal, drink and eat, we're going to want to create a function called reset with 2 brackets, 2 curly brackets below. Then we want to say that wood. So we've got various things that we created for the inventory. We've got wood, we've got stone, you can check these all at the top. We've got clay, we've got fish, we've got cooked fish, a bottle, bottled water, and a bandage. And now what we can see is there are all the things that we need to reset. If we scoot all the way back to the top, we had a minimum value which was 0, so we could, like I've said before, that we can't ever go below a certain amount. Now we can use that variable because we want everything set to 0 unless you specify things otherwise. So when you die, you'll lose everything from your inventory. So we can say wood is equal to minimum value. So what we'll do is we'll copy that whole thing of the equals and minimum, and we'll just put them straight after each other. Ooh. I'm just pasting it all in. And that just means that when we die, we'll reset everything to its normal amount. So I'll quickly show you within Unity what we'll do on our first person controller. We'll open player GUI back, and destination is here. Now we could use a way you'd maybe want to find it, so if you've got multiple campfires, or when you create a campfire after runtime, you maybe want to find a way to put destination into this slot. You could possibly find the game object that you're looking for with gameObject.find later down the line, because here we're actually telling it there's a campfire already and this is what we want it to do or where we want it to go. So you need to obviously make sure that if you're making a campfire or can build it in game, you need to make sure that you somehow procedurally put it into this slot for yourself. So what I'll do is I'll drag campfire into there, and you can see that it says campfire transform. Now what we're going to do is for this campfire specifically, I'm going to take away the box collider so we don't collide with it this time. And then what I'm going to do is on the player, I'm going to press play, and you can see all the bars are going down right now, and we'll move away from the box itself. Now what I'll do is I'll make sure that it falls a little bit more quickly. You can see the it falling, and you notice that we appeared with inside our box, and if you check the inventory now, we've got nothing in there. Our health and everything and thirst all respawned. Now you'll watch again. If we die, we'll respawn where that campfire was, and we'll respawn with all the correct sort of units. Now, that might not be the best way, and you need to make sure that when I was testing this, I had it too close to the ground. And if you could see on sometimes on your character controller, if you've got a big sort of character controller collider and you put it too close to the ground, if you're spawning on this position, you'll fall through the map. So you just want to pull your object up. And I got rid of the box collider because sometimes if you spawn directly in this position, you'll get stuck within the box collider, and that'll be no good because you'll never be able to move. Now obviously you'll be able to go back into this script and say transform.position, and then you could say probably plus vector 3, and we could open brackets and we could say 0, 5, 0. So what that's going to do is, instead of having that trouble of falling inside or getting trapped within the box, if you needed a box collider over your campfire, or it could be any sort of object that you've made, it doesn't have to be a campfire, I'm just giving an example, it'll actually be able to spawn us slightly differently. Again, what I'll need to do is I'll just take the health fall rate down so it falls a lot quicker. Now you'll notice that in that instance I didn't really think about what I was doing, but what we could do, we could set that's X, Y and Z axes. So if we set that to vector 3 and then 5 along the X, 0 along the Y, we'll just spawn a little bit back from the actual campfire itself. But that's just sort of simply explaining that we're just transforming the whole character position, resetting the player GUI values, then resetting everything in the inventory. So you just need to sort of think to yourself, what do I need to do within my game? This may be not the best way. Obviously a save and load system would be the best option, but until I get round to doing that, this is going to be, well, second best way, we'd say. So thanks again for watching, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Cheers.